All right, guys, we're going to start the show momentarily. It's going to be a good show today. We'll have Yaz Washington joining us in studio. We are also working with, chatting with Troy Razor Robinson of coming on the program. And Mr. Robinson, I think, is going to come on Monday. Hey there, Yaz. Hello, how are you? Come on in. We can welcome her in. So, Yaz, we just turned the mics on, have not started the show yet. Okay. But the mics are on. Just want to let you know.
Great, okay.
We'll
Awesome.
start in a matter of moments. Yaz is running for city council. We'll chat with Yaz here. We have some news from the Clifton Inn. The Clifton Inn is expanding. We'll let you know how the Clifton Inn is expanding. It looks like the Clifton Inn is going after festivals and glamping, building potentially a spa and expanding their hotel services. So quite a bit happening in eastern Albemarle County in the Keswick area. We'll talk about that on the show. And El Carbone, the restaurant we love north of town, El Carbone is opening up a location, a second location in 5th Street Station. We'll chat about that after we spent about 30 minutes with the city council candidate, Yaz Washington. Judah, we're good. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. Judah, we are absolutely in your hands. Guys, good Thursday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, in the Commonwealth, and across the country on the I Love Seville network. We are presented and powered by Ting Fiber Internet. It's the best internet in Charlottesville. It's not even close. They run the network, Ting Fiber, crazy fast internet. What's the link, Judah? It's loveseville.ting.com. If you'd like to get a $289 reduction in your price, installation free, first month's free. Yes, sir, Judah Wickower.
The link has changed.
Oh.
It's now ilove.ting.com.
Okay, thank you very much, Judah. That's why thank you, Judah. Appreciate you. ilove.ting.com. Thank you, Judah. Judah, why don't we go to the studio camera, my friend, and let's welcome Yaz Washington, third time at I Love Seville for her. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm good. Again, it's Yaz Washington. I'm running as a Democratic candidate to be the next counselor, one of the next counselors for Charlottesville, Virginia. So I'm really excited.
Good. How's the campaign going?
Everything, all is well. I'm definitely really excited to be able to engage with the community on a deeper level, but also to being able to, just connect with other people and just like kind of seeing how people feel about the current state of Charlottesville, but also to suggestions that they have for how they think that the city should be built up, or how they feel about the current state of council.
Cool. I guess, should we start there?
Sure.
Yesterday was an explosive day, I think, for Charlottesville. We're in the national news again. I'm sure you saw, I think we've all saw, Fox News, the Washington Post, the Washington Examiner, and Newsweek, just to name a few. Covered some of the turn of events from yesterday. The poem from the mayor's Facebook page shows yours. What did you make of everything that transpired yesterday?
Honestly, I was really hoping that the next time that Charlottesville, Virginia was going to be in the news on a, a national scale or whatever the case may be, I was really hoping that it would be for something positive. And something that's progressive and not something that's detrimental to Charlottesville and everything that we stand for as a community. It makes us look once again confused, disconnected, and it looks as though we haven't accomplished anything. 2017 with the white supremacist rally or whatever the case was, and then to have Nakia Walker come on onto council, and she gets elected as the mayor of Charlottesville. She had the ability to be able to counteract or contest a lot of that simply with her position as mayor. And I feel like with the posting from yesterday, it was very vulgar. And it kind of showed that we've actually accomplished nothing at all, which like I'm heavily against, just because I feel like so far as wording to get your point across, it didn't show anything at all, from like lynching to, a noose, and then to involve City Hall, and then, to talk about basically how, we're chanting for progression, but basically we continue to be at a state of conservatism. And I'm like, okay, well, as the face of Charlottesville and someone who's supposed to be heavily advocating for the residents and, for change, that just showed a lack thereof.
Okay, I appreciate that honesty.
No worries.
I'll throw this to you, just as a woman, not as a counselor, not as someone who's running for council, just as a woman, what did you think as a female reading that?
I honestly felt as though, between race and, sex and, rape, not to be like, too aggressive with it, but I felt like as though all of that should not have been in a statement or a status at all. It's very confusing, and it looks really like just all in all, it's a political nightmare, but it's also too a public relations nightmare as well. To look and scroll and see that the mayor of Charlottesville is talking in that manner, it just looks really awful to me.
I can respect that as well. Wow, you impress me.
Yeah.
What do we do? I mean, because so much of running for council is feeling the temperature of voters and what they're hearing and saying. And it seems like we're so, just on this particular topic, it's like so divisive and dividing in the community. I understand, you know what, and I'll take that back. I don't understand what it's like to be an African-American female growing up in Charlottesville in the South.
Right.
I have no understanding of that. I try to be empathetic, but I don't understand. In this age of which you grew up in, of social, digital, mobile media, I mean, it almost is like perception is the reality. And so many, including myself, could not get beyond some of those words. We talked about them yesterday. I won't repeat them today because we covered it real well yesterday. We couldn't get by 3 or 4 of those words in the poem to understand what the message truly was. Is that fair?
Yeah, so it's like, I'll start with me personally. Like, I know I'm younger, with me being 23. I definitely, was born and raised here. I have grassroots to the community. Even though, and like, honestly, I'm not racist, and I try to look at things very, like, not biased from a neutral point of view. I didn't come here today and look at you as a white man. I look at you as a person. And I look at most people like that, and I think when we do things like that, we're able to break down barriers and whatnot. I do believe that continuing to, talk about history and like the worst parts of history is no longer informing people. It's starting to make people racist. It's starting to, tap on emotions and things that weren't necessarily there, even all the way to the statues. No one really knew the history of them. They were kind of just there. People walked by and kind of paid absolutely no attention to it. But when you start to talk about something in detail and you start to, discuss the history of it, it starts to make people very emotional about things, and they don't even know why they're emotional about it because they've lived here their whole life and they never thought anything of it. So, I think if we're going to be talking about history and whatnot, I think that we should actually talk about the history, progression, advancements, powerful leaders, things that have gone right. History is there for a reason. It's there to make sure that we don't repeat awful things or experiences from the past so that we can avoid certain things from taking place again.
Nicely said.
Yeah, I think it should be analyzed. I don't think that it should be used as a weapon to cause things to happen that shouldn't have to.
Wow. Well said. Well said. Her leadership style, how do you characterize it?
I think at this point it's kind of, I feel as though with the rant from yesterday, I feel like it was more so personal feelings that kind of got wrapped up in the overall view of the city. And I think it's kind of one of those things with, it's a election year. There's, other than myself, 3 other people running, and I'm kind of just no longer planning on being the mayor is what I got from that.
One other recently announced that he'd like to run. He's working on getting the signatures now. He has till 5 o'clock to get his signatures. Mr. Karp. We'll see if we can have him on the show potentially next week if he does get the signatures so you can meet him. What do you think comments and like yesterday's does to the community?
I think it makes people very confused. I don't think that it reinforced a sense of togetherness at all. And I actually feel as though it made it seem as though we haven't gotten absolutely anywhere so far as a community altogether. And I definitely think that we have. I think that we've grown a lot. I think that people are honestly more accepting. Me personally, I'm always accepting. So, different strokes for different folks, but also too, people see things differently. And I feel as though when you have a mayor that seems to be very one-sided and very negative, it's not very positive for the city. And honestly, it's probably why we're stagnant and can't get a lot accomplished.
How would you characterize your childhood, the teenage years, your adult years living in Charlottesville? I guess, correct me if I'm wrong here, ties to the Fifeville neighborhood, I've been told, ties to the Orangedale neighborhood,
Yeah.
I've been told. How would you characterize your experiences in Charlottesville personally?
Okay, great. So I grew up in Orangedale.
Uh-huh.
So that's where, I grew up at and everything like that. And then we moved after a short while from the city to the county. And between that time period, I actually went to private school,
Uh-huh.
where, everybody was predominantly white. So, like me of all people, I definitely can't be racist having grown up and experienced that.
Uh-huh.
I've had my things of some days they might like you, some days they might not. And
You're talking at school?
Yeah, and it kind of gave me the thing where, I'm going to be me, and I kind of don't care how you all feel about me. All I can do is be me. All I can do is present myself in the best light.
Uh-huh.
All I can do is be a leader, be positive, and kind of, when it comes to negative things, don't allow it to take something away from you. While you're trying to accomplish your overall mission and your vision, make sure that you always are direct in your approach. Aside from that, obviously I graduated from Albemarle High School, where the demographics are very mixed. And then, kind of when you get to, it's the cliquey situation and everything, and these people are hanging out with these people and all of that. And then it's like senior year and everybody's like, screw it, we're all just going to hang out, we're about to graduate, who really cares?
Sure.
So definitely I kind of don't understand a lot of, I understand it from being able to be intelligent, analyze things, but, and sometimes I just don't feel the same way as certain people feel. I honestly feel as though, growing up, technically, what I'll say, in Albemarle County, as opposed to someone growing up in the city, I think that the experiences are very different.
How so?
I feel as though, African Americans tend to hang out with African Americans. And then you kind of, so far as inner city goes, and then you kind of don't really know how to interact with or how to take on, white people in general. You're like, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone, and it starts to make you very small-minded. You see them as people who are, you see them as law enforcement for people who get in trouble. And you're like, you see the government as white. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
It starts to make you very, I feel like, biased and everything, and very closed-minded altogether.
Man, you're bringing it.
Yeah.
Have you, tough question, have you, growing up in this community, experienced racism firsthand?
Yeah. So I've definitely had my moments where, I've noticed when you're intelligent African American, sometimes it can be offensive to other people.
How so?
So I feel as though, I've had moments where I've been very intelligent, or like I am very intelligent anyways, obviously, but, to be very intelligent, to be able to advocate for yourself, and to know the facts and to be able to have a direct response to things, at times kind of throws people off who think that they're very intelligent because they're in a position of power and then they realize that they're actually not.
So they feel threatened?
So yeah, and I've noticed I won't say it's a white male thing, but I definitely think that it's like a male dominance thing in general.
Okay. Tell me about that.
So with male dominance, sometimes for example in workplaces, sometimes women aren't equally valued, or sometimes even from pay. Sometimes they might not get paid the same, or sometimes they'll say something and it won't be valued, or sometimes you'll go into somewhere and you'll see that there's women temps. No one has an actual legitimate position in the company, and then there's all males.
Sure.
So there's things like that, and I think being able to also break down the barriers of sexism goes a long way as well. So I think that so far as to round back to it, with Nakia Walker being the mayor, not only is she an African-American woman, but she's the mayor first, she's a woman, and she's also African-American. So I don't think that it was a very intelligent post. I think it was a very ignorant one.
Second really hard question here. I feel like I have to ask this. It's a fair question, but it's a challenging one. Is the mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia, racist herself?
I definitely have noticed a lot. Obviously, and for me too, so to say we're aligned on this vision is to be able to provide equity. That's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it has to go hand in hand with low-income individuals and people of the BIPOC community, which maybe somewhere, 10 years from now, maybe that won't necessarily be the case. But it seems as though those go hand in hand, and I feel as though oftentimes she kind of pivots to where she wants to address only things in the black community. But Charlottesville is not just black people. And I think that when things like that happen, you find yourself focusing on only redevelopment or only inner city, and then all of the rest of the city kind of gets ignored, to the point where it's kind of like, do we care about what's going on with city council? And then I feel like that's a lot of pullback with not being able to actually become competitive and be able to progress through proper developments and provision programs, because we're always focused on this one thing, which is making black people happy. And, I don't want to sound like Uncle Tom or something stupid, because, I'm black. So I will always want to be able to provide on that level. But I think that to only be focused on that, it then becomes kind of like you're no longer a politician. You're
An activist.
Yeah, you're simply an activist. So to have an activist as mayor of Charlottesville is, pretty unconstructive.
You're bringing it. I've said it on the show many times that we undoubtedly need activism in the community, and there's a role for activists, and we need activists. But once you get elected to office, that activism hat, does it get put to a side? Because now you're the champion for the city in totality, and championing the city in totality is black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. It's everybody.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So definitely, we have really great activists here, which I feel like having activists is very important, because it makes it so that issues that have, kind of fell by the wayside, or they're no longer of interest, and you're wishing to be able to re-centralize people's focus, and in regards to the moral compass that was brought up, that's where activism comes into play. Knowing who you are and what type of leader you want to be is very important. Making sure that you don't lose sight of your personal values and who you are by trying to give so much back to a community or a state or a country altogether is very important. But there's a place for activism. There's a place for politics. which we need activists to be able to help us do our job politically, which is where, people like, Myra Anderson, Tanisha Hudson.
I brought her up yesterday. I think
yeah.
she does a great job as an activist.
Right. Joy Johnson also too. That's where you have people who will talk about things that people don't necessarily want to talk about and stuff like that, to make sure that people are continuing to receive equity, and it's not just one of those things of like, oh well, we're on to better things. Oh wait, but we forgot about these people, and that's where kind of like all that stuff comes into play. And I think that that's really amazing to have people who actually do advocate on a regular basis. And while politically it should be brought up and addressed, it's not something where that should be the only thing that you're thinking about on a regular basis.
So the dynamic aspect of the show is you can offer comments and perspective for our guests in the Facebook section, in the comment section, and we will relay them on air as long as they're respectful and on point. The comments that are coming in for you are extremely positive, and your words are resonating with the viewers. I'll read off some of the comments. Jamie Schwartz said, "So very well said, so very well eloquent. Does she want to run my company? I love her so much. What amazing, thoughtful young woman." Kevin Higgins, "Yes with Yaz is all I can say. Yes. It's refreshing to listen to an honest, well thought out candidate. Yaz will be great for the city of Charlottesville." Heather Bangley, "Yaz is on point." Georgia Gilmore, "Yaz will go places." Grace is watching in Belmont. "Jerry, thank you for highlighting this candidate. She's the voice of reason we now need more than ever. Please ask her this question. Did the words that the mayor of Charlottesville used yesterday set back the community? And did the words that the mayor used yesterday set back the African American community in Charlottesville?"
I would like to think that one, even though it's as big as the, view of the mayor, I would like to think that that's not, something that, dresses the whole entire race, so far as my race, But I definitely would like to, believe that me running and being who I am and being knowledgeable, articulate, and also to, understanding that there's an importance in being politically correct, also is something that can counteract that.
Well said. This comment comes in from Kelsey. Yaz, can you speak to your experiences growing up on Orangedale and in Fifeville and compare and contrast them with your experiences at the private school you mentioned? That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. I was relatively young, like went, go to the pool, hang out with friends and stuff like that, and then going to, Johnson Elementary School. I think the reason why my mom ended up taking me out is because a teacher pulled a chair from under me while I was at school. So
why did she do that?
Honestly, I can't really remember.
How old were you?
I had to have been probably around the 7 or 8 or so range.
Yeah.
I feel like it was probably 8.
And your mom, like any other mom, got very protective, very mama bear, and said, "This isn't going to happen to my daughter."
Right. So then I ended up going to private school, which for me, I have to put on a uniform and stuff like that. I'm pretty young, so it was, I feel like a pretty smooth transition. The only difference is that, it was predominantly white. So that was a little bit different. And, being able to find yourself, understand yourself, and know who you are, in establishments or buildings, facilities, wherever the case is, where there's, mostly white people, it kind of broke that whole stigma of this makes me uncomfortable. It's kind of whatever, be you. And also too, more focused on the education aspect of it. I thought that education was absolutely amazing. So being able to learn things cursive or I think possibly Spanish. So the courses are pretty different, or were pretty different in comparison to city schools, and then in comparison to Albemarle County schools, where you'll learn that some people don't know how to do their signature, or some people aren't pushed to take rigorous courses. So I definitely think that that's where on an educational level, it definitely kind of like crafted and molded me wanting to, strive for excellence, essentially. Making sure that education is important, and making sure that I'm like, okay, my mom's paying for this, it's
Bring
less,
your A game.
Yeah, it's less about your experiences, and it's more about making sure that you're pushing yourself. I'm already an African American here. I don't, if they're gonna like me, they're gonna like me, and that's great, but like, you're here to receive education.
Vanessa Parkhill says, yes, in all caps, be you, with 3 exclamation points. Barbara Lundgren is watching the program and says, please elect this candidate, Charlottesville, Virginia. More questions coming in for Yaz. If you'd like to give her some questions or give her some props, put them in the comment section of any of the Facebook pages, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, and of course on iloveseville.com. This question, an interesting one. Yaz, if you're elected to council, what will you do to help fix the harm the mayor has done to this community?
Definitely what I've already been working on is making sure that I'm well informed on what's going on in the community. Definitely being able to look and see, different issues that are taking place, and having, well-structured solutions for them. Which again, to go into depth, I'm looking to be able to address criminal justice reform, equitable education, environmental sustainability, which goes hand in hand with eco-management, and then definitely making sure that we're properly allocating the budget to be able to support projects and programs that are going to enhance the quality of living here in Charlottesville, while making sure that we're remaining sustainable. I definitely think that sustainability is something that, like, everybody kind of forgets about, and then you have a couple of people who are like, this is really important. We need to make sure that we're preserving our environment while, with public health and, COVID and everything, I feel as though it's made people be a lot more mindful of not only their bodies and, their nutritional intake or anything like that, but also, too, it's like, okay, the environment seems to have gone hand in hand with that. So making sure that we're continuing to do that, and everything is really important to me. I don't want to get too much in detail. I don't know how much time we have left.
We have plenty, all the time you need. Seriously, we roll the red carpet out for you, and you are crushing this.
Thank you.
You are crushing this. Carol Thorpe giving you props. Ken Moon Art giving you props right now. Johnny Ornalis, welcome to the broadcast. I see 3 states watching the show: Crozet, Northern Virginia, Southwestern Virginia, and our friends in Richmond watching you on the broadcast here, as is the NBC 29 TV station and the Seville Weekly newspaper. Heather Bangley and Peyton Alley giving you props on the broadcast. Yesterday, 12 individual females reached out to us anonymously, or asking us not to use their name and to maintain their anonymity. And they mentioned that the use of the word rape triggered incredible emotional responses within them.
Yeah.
I'm a white male.
Yeah.
I cannot relate. I try to empathize. I don't understand. I'm trying. That topic to you of trigger and conjuring emotions that someone who's been through an experience like that probably has to manage for the rest of their lives. Your thoughts on that topic?
Again, so far as like wording goes, having been so, vulgar and gruesome while trying to, explain very serious issues in the community, I felt as though was kind of very conflicting, because you've now compared essentially, you have racism, and then you have women, and you've now brought like rape into that, and it was like very sexually inappropriate as well to, even with like, the word, to have used the word cum, I'm like, okay. That's a post that you would expect from anyone, and you would actually expect that from someone who's pretty unintelligent, and you wouldn't expect that to come from like a official. And I actually would have expected something like that to have come from honestly a white male, because at times white men. I'm sorry, I don't mean to
No,
attack.
no, please.
But
yeah. I agree.
can be very, they can be very thoughtless and very senseless. So it was very odd to me for her to have compared all of that together. And then, it's like we're working to, which like something that I'm always working towards is being able to be inclusive. And being able to provide healing, having with the city having to experience what happened in 2017. And I feel like, with the idea that she won't get reelected, doing all that kind of tears down anything that she's done the entire term.
The role of a mayor in general of a town.
Yeah.
What is a mayor supposed to do?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So you have council. Council are members, and they're there to be able to vote on policies, budget alterations or whatever the case is, overall project management and everything like that. Then you basically have the mayor who essentially leads the council meetings or is the overall advocate for whatever they've come to agreement on. So, to have like the face of, city council talking in that manner.
Face of the city.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was kind of, it was a bit like, it was somewhere in between obscene and absurd.
Yaz Washington is dropping jewels today on the show. Rashawn Newman and Jasmine Thurston, all giving you props on the broadcast. If you have comments, props, or questions for the candidate, put them in the comments section. Send me a DM on Instagram, Twitter, text, whatever it may be. We will relay them live on air. Daily Progress watching you on the program. How has your platform and your candidacy evolved since you announced? Because I'm going to say, right now, oh my God. I mean, you're so electable. So electable. And I have goosebumps and feel inspired and would this, I'm like, damn. Give us the flip book of the last, 30, 45 days?
Yeah.
Since you announced? Because I'm sure you've been grinding.
So let's see, everything from, being able to knock on doors, being able to engage with people, being able to express my vision for Charlottesville, and being able to interact with people has been really great. Going to a couple of socially distanced events or whatever the case is. Also too, just receiving feedback, whether it's via Facebook or anything like that. I'm actually going to be talking with NBC a little bit later.
Nice.
So it's definitely been absolutely insane. Not only to be able to provide solutions, but being able to be a powerful African American woman, and also to aside from that, stepping back and making sure that I'm doing my homework. So I'm not thrown off or anything. There's been a couple of neighborhood association meetings, which has been absolutely amazing. Getting to know, there's Charlottesville as a whole, and then there's each individual neighborhood. And I think understanding and knowing what's going on in all of those neighborhoods are really important, and making sure that they don't feel ignored just because perhaps we talk about equity a lot, but perhaps equity isn't necessarily what this neighborhood needs, but there's, a pressing need for something else, and they often get ignored simply because, they're not at the core focus being, public housing, affordable housing, or low-income individuals and families.
Eric Lamb leaves a comment on Facebook. He says, "We need Yaz Washington." Stephanie Wells Rhodes leaves a comment on Facebook. She is a breath of fresh air for sure. More comments coming in. If you'd like to give some props to the candidate, put them in the Facebook section. If you want to give her a question, put it in the Facebook comment section as well. Influential, intelligent, powerful, articulate, prepared. You have all those qualities. Walk me through that fine line of being a champion for Charlottesville in totality and also being a champion for a community, the African American community, that's often been overlooked and mistreated. I mean, we know the history of Vinegar Hill. When we take 150, 200 families and we tear down their homes and take their businesses from them, and we build a Staples home supply store in its place, that's going to have a multi-generational impact on not only Charlottesville, but Central Virginia in totality. So walk me through that line of being that advocate, but also being the leader for everyone.
Yeah, so definitely to make sure that, preparedness, presentation, and then also to knowing what's going on and being up to date is very important, while making sure I'm staying true to the reason, with people having added in on me and like kind of throwing me off a little bit, knowing that, I understand why I'm running. I know these issues are very important, and I know not to, get distracted by anything else that's going on and stay true to my vision, because, I wouldn't have picked these issues if I didn't think that they were very important. So.
Tell me about your mom. Your mom seems to be quite the influential figure in your life.
Yeah. Definitely, so stopping by, definitely picking her brain and having conversations with her is really great. I'm like, okay, I loosely know about this, like, let's tighten it up. What's going on? Or just like, being able to talk to her is really great. So that's awesome. Also too, she was on, I believe, the Board of Supervisors for Albemarle County a while back. Okay. So, that, and then, so always like hearing about like, being politically involved and everything like that definitely, inspired me to want to, take up that and do it as well.
Ray Cadell is giving you props. Neil Williamson, the journalist from the Free Enterprise Forum, is giving you props. Paul Johnson, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Questions for the candidate, you put them in the feed. We will get to them in a matter of moments. Lex Penny, hello, is giving you some props. Is it Quija Zamin Sincoria? Giving you some props here on the show as well. Well, how about I'd be remiss. How about your father?
Oh, yeah. So my dad actually passed away.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Oh, no worries. Probably over a year ago now. Not probably, but yeah. So, having went through that, loss is something that's very normal.
What does that mean?
I feel like I've experienced a lot of loss in my life.
How so?
So I grew up with without grandparents. My grandparents passed away. Also too, I lost my brother due to gun violence. So, when you grow up, yeah. So, growing up, and having to, navigate through emotions and stuff like that, I feel like honestly has made me really resilient. But obviously the loss of a parent is really different. So definitely, that completely threw me off. But being able to, going to radio, I was on 101 Point Jams. So going to radio, being very positive and uplifting, going to work at, the city of Charlottesville, and, all of that, and then working on political campaigns and just making sure that, I'm still continuing to, do the work. I'm not, sulking or, getting in this depressive mode. Because depression is totally not me. I'm very vibrant. And
you are. I can feel it. Your energy is contagious.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got this positive aura, guys. As soon as she walked in, it's tangible, this aura and energy to her. And I'm a big energy person when it comes to people. Positive energy is what I want in my life. Those that emit negative energy, I eventually weed out and cut out. We don't have to go down this road if you don't want to. Just let me know. You had two people very close to you pass away, and you're young.
Yeah.
Especially a father and a brother. How did that impact you?
I feel as though, experiencing that type of loss definitely made me really resilient. but also too, it's like understanding the importance of your life and the fact that you're here. You're here for a reason. You don't know if you're going to be here for a long time. And sometimes, everything isn't always good, but definitely remaining purposeful, impactful, and knowing that, I was brought here to do the work of the greater good. And right now, particularly, that's Greater Charlottesville, which is always the case, being that this is where I'm from. This is my grassroots.
Gun violence?
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that and how that could potentially influence your campaign if elected?
Yeah.
Or your platform or your policies if elected?
Yeah, so definitely my input on gun violence is honestly to put your guns down. So I really like the fact that Buck Squad is now a thing, which is, in relation to Guns Down Inc., which is a New York sector. So I definitely think that it's important to have stuff like that, have people who are advocating for individuals to take the route, which is nonviolence. I also, too, think that words are very powerful. And I do believe violence, so far as gun violence, is ignorance at its finest. I feel as though that's something that takes place when people are no longer able to talk about an issue and be able to communicate. And communication is very important, and it's an art to it. And it's not to become violent and add weaponry into the mix.
I'm sorry if I'm missing your name, Ms. Waller. Is it Quazine Waller? Just shared the show and is giving you some props right now. Clino Bliss, Kim Flores, David Mitchell, all giving you some props. Your father and your brother today, they'd be so proud. How do you think they'd see you?
Definitely, my dad was like a really lively person. Is
that where you get it from?
Yeah, and definitely being able to cheer me on, and clap for my accomplishments. So I'm pretty sure he would definitely be excited. Definitely my brother, I'm more than sure, without a doubt. Definitely knowing that you're continuing to do, the work, but, you're also you're living for these people who, which is really great. But also, too, in regards to double back on an unfinished topic, which is gun violence, definitely making sure that if, you have purchased a firearm, making sure that you definitely have taken the proper precautions, definitely being a lot more strict on that, and also, too, especially doing mental health assessments. I've always considered that as an option because I think it's very important to make sure that people are in a mental headspace where they can even own a firearm. So, yeah.
Impressed I am. Tara Kirby Morris also says in the feed, I'm extremely impressed by you. Folks, she's 23. And she is crushing it here. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? We got the debate that former Counselor Kathy Galvin will host here on April 6th. All the Democratic candidates will be here. Then another big milestone or date on the calendar is the June 8th Democratic primary. We got the November 3rd general election, and we'll have some debates and some forums between now and then. What do you want to see from yourself first between now and, say, Election Day?
Whoa, so in between now and Election Day is definitely very important. Making sure that I'm actually going to go on ahead and go to the bank and get everything sorted with purchasing gaining access to VAN, which is the voter database.
Okay.
So making sure that, I'm doing that, I'm able to engage with people and reach out to them, knowing who's registered, who's not, possibly discussing with a couple of different entities about doing a voter registration. I know Charlottesville Dems has already kind of gotten on that in connection with PHA. So definitely making sure that we're, me at the very most, making sure that I'm definitely doing the work to be able to get my vision across to the residents of Charlottesville.
Jason Burke is watching the show from California. He's in Los Angeles right now watching you. He's a resident of the community, an entrepreneur, and now living in Cali. He says, from California, I was absolutely blown away by the remarks the current mayor made of Charlottesville. I hope to see change in the future leadership. And he's impressed with what you have to say today. That frustrates me. Jason, your comments are so good. It's not your comments that frustrate me at all. I think your comments are 100% applicable. What frustrates me is there folks in California. I was getting text messages from my in-laws and my family in Long Island. I was getting text messages and phone calls from my immediate family in North Carolina and Florida saying that they saw the Washington Post article and the Fox News story and said, what the heck is going on with Charlottesville, Jerry? And I said, that's not an indication of the community in totality.
Yeah.
It just happens to be an indication of potentially the most influential person with the loudest voice.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go with that?
Yeah, most definitely. So, we've already had a black or African American mayor, but to have had a woman, and then to go back and bring up things so far as like rape and all of these like very sexual terms, and then to bring that. And
Why'd you get frustrated? Why'd you get emotional there?
well, just because it was really like kind of reading the post. I read it a couple times, and I read it a couple of different ways. So one.
Oh, I'd love to unpack that.
Yeah. So one, I definitely read it first, and it was a very interesting read. But then two, to read it again, it was like, okay, analyzing and, kind of taking out all of the parts that had to do with race. And then, to read it again was the sexual connotations that were in it as well. And, honestly, it just kind of absolutely made no sense whatsoever. I mean, I understood. Well, no, I did not understand. I got the point. I got what she was saying. I didn't get the way that it was put and the way that the overall post was structured. Because basically, to have, you're discussing like lynching and noose. And then you're talking about white supremacy. And then you're talking about rooted racism. And then you're talking about a moral compass and rape. And then sheets. It's like, well, that just, and then, it was the, the talk of liberation. We need to be liberated from that post, is how I feel. So, definitely my goal, running as a counselor for Charlottesville is definitely to go on ahead and, make it so that people don't even think about it. It never happened.
Judah Wickower, I rarely throw stuff to you here, but I see you're nodding your head. You seem quite impressed. When my extremely intelligent and somewhat introverted colleague has something to say, I stop and listen.
Yeah.
Because this guy always has something profound. What's on your mind, sir?
I just think I like what Yaz is saying. I think it would be a boon to our city to have some new bold blood in the city council.
I agree. Well said, Judah. Where does Charlottesville need to go? If you get elected, you're here for 4 years on the dais.
Yeah.
Where do we need to go?
Well, definitely making sure that we're getting back to, aside from all of that, being that Charlottesville is once in the news again, and again, it's for something that's not positive, making sure that we can bring that sense of community unity and positivity back, while making sure that we're getting back to things and being able to rebuild the infrastructure of council to make sure that it's one that can actually be productive and generate actual results for the city. And that's what we aim to be able to see when we look at our political governing bodies, being able to see, development, being able to see equity, sustainability, and making sure that we're building Charlottesville up to be more competitive. That's the goal. That's what I would like to do. I'm not here for antics. I'm not here for likes. I'm here to do a job and to make sure it gets done right.
Ty Adams, giving you props. Elizabeth Bishop, giving you the heart emoji. Questions, props, comments for the candidate, put them in the feed right here. I think she's doing a hell of a job, ladies and gentlemen, a hell of a job. This is her third time on here, and this time is on fire today. When you get on the dais, if you get on the dais, if elected, and disagreements occur, those disagreements now are extremely, visibly dysfunctional. Walk me through how you handle disagreements in a way that are productive. Because we can agree to disagree. For instance, in business, my background's business. I disagree with clients all the time. And these are folks that pay us money to help them build their companies. And I disagree with them, and I say, this is instead what should be doing, and here's why. And if they choose to still go with their path and not mine, it's up to me to make the path they want to go as advantageous for them as possible.
Yeah.
And that's how I try to go about it. I try to listen, to learn, offer my perspective after I learn, and then I listen to the client and say, where are we going to go? So disagreements with you, because you know they're going to happen if you get on this council. That's just the nature of the beast. How would you handle them?
Well, definitely being open-minded is very important. Being able to get your point across, advocate for the issue, being able to provide a solution is important, but also to knowing how to listen to others. All of that is very important in making a well-structured, I feel as though, political figure, an elect, a leader, or anything. You have to be able to listen to people, but you have to also be able to communicate. I've honestly, letting stuff roll off the back and not being easily offended by the comments of others. Is
that what we have going on now?
Absolutely not. But
not with you, but current. Current council.
I feel as though right now it's just so much tension. And I feel as though the tension is probably the fact that, there's Nakia Walker, and then there's 4 other people, and they're white. Which would appear to be pretty much what the tension is now.
Why is that causing tension?
I honestly have no clue. Maybe it's the fact that everyone thinks very differently. It looks like you have goodness gracious, Michael Payne, right?
He's coming on the show tomorrow, guys, at 12:30. Michael Payne.
Yeah, you have Michael Payne, which is also to eco-management and housing. Seems to be his niche. That's his thing. Then also too, you have Sina, which is she's like a really big people person, very altruistic, but also too wants to be able to provide equity. And then you have Lloyd Snook, which seems to be about development, but like the end, and let's go on ahead and get the vote in and get this, rolling. You have, and then, Heather Hill, who's like, her term is up, and she doesn't seem interested in, or hasn't announced that she'll be running again.
She's chosen not to.
Yeah, but, she probably has like the end, let's get it done type of thing. We have a new insight from the new city manager, who's able to look with a fresh set of eyes at everything that's going on, which I think is really great. Being able to make sure that the proper, departments are fully functional, and making sure that they have really like positive but yet very strong people who are assertive and they can get the job done, is all the things that we need to be able to build Charlottesville back up. And honestly too, in the workplace, being able to put aside anything that you may feel to just going ahead and get the job done. I don't necessarily think that anybody is actually racist. I just think that sometimes it's a thing of we have this one thing that we talk about all the time that consumes city council meetings, which is affordable housing or public housing. And, that in itself could probably bring tension, because it seems as though Nakia Walker is very favorable of this one group, which is like, this is something that's important, but this is not something that should be the central focus all the time. And it's making it so that other things aren't really getting done. And I feel like that's probably where commentary is made that could seem kind of cold, because it's like and okay, we get it, moving on, So, yeah.
Yeah, as you are bringing it. Questions are coming in from voters. May I throw those to you?
Sure.
Patsy Strong says she's following with anticipation.
Yeah.
And is giving you props. This is one from a restaurateur, okay? One-time owner of multiple restaurants in this neighborhood, Bo Stockton, in this town. He owned multiple restaurants. Good friend of this program, Bo Stockton. He says, Ms. Washington, how do you rebuild a city government that is in such a situation that permits such comments from its mayor? That comment isn't something any child should read or understand. Bo is a father of 2, to give you some background. We pay for these people through our tax dollars. How will you repair the staff beneath you if elected in City Hall? Do we need a new sheriff? Do we need a new director of finance? Do we need a new police chief? How do we repair the team in City Hall? It's a good question.
Well, yeah, definitely making sure that we're able to build relationships, making sure that the conversation and the structure amongst the different departments is very functional. I definitely think it's important. I've even, considered when brainstorming if, all departments, are all like, department heads should go on ahead and meet, have a conversation, discuss, and kind of be able to, regularly look at, how well their department's doing, any projections that can be made, anything that's taking place in the city from their point of view. I think is a lot more productive, and I think it's making it so that everybody can kind of work together instead of making it like, well, we're over here and they're over here, and then it's like, okay, what's the, is everybody really doing the best to be able to be a part of, you're not just talking about a team, but a part of our local government, or is it kind of just like we're all cliquey and it's kind of like, whatever, we're not going to help, they can figure it out on their own?
Because, and you know this, we all know this, the morale in City Hall, the morale is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
And I heard from somebody I met before the show that this particular individual is in a tremendous position of influence in the community, especially within the real estate community. And we were talking, there are, and don't quote me on the exact number, guys, but there's 46 or 47 open positions that cannot be filled. The guy who was going to be the neighborhood development director verbally committed to the job, never even showed up, and then ended up taking the same position in, of all places, Powhatan, Virginia.
Whoa.
Right? And I don't think either, we're not marginalizing Powhatan, but we certainly know as residents of Charlottesville that Charlottesville has more to offer than Powhatan, right? And the guy didn't even show up to work. He said, I've heard of what's going on in this building. I'm not even going to come here. And he sprinted for a job in Powhatan.
Right.
So, I mean, if elected, part of your job will be improving morale.
Right. So,
and that's not easy.
He went running for the hills.
Yeah, literally and figuratively, right?
But, being able to have, just a positive, effective, and efficient council is really important. Being able to have people, trust that I'm not there yet, but making sure that people can trust that the local government is doing their jobs to the best of their ability to be able to provide them with the quality of living that they deserve, being able to, enhance that as the city progresses. There's commercial and housing development taking place with as the city is being built up, and as we're, starting to see more of an urban ring. So I think like things like that, getting people excited about things like that, being able to be very positive, being able to talk about those things are things that redress the city, but also to helps, helps everybody regain morale. We're already at a very weird period. This is the first pandemic that, and hopefully the last, that
right?
right,
Yeah.
that people are experiencing. So to have something so odd and so negative, well, in our lifetimes, my lifetime for sure, but to have something so odd and so negative be said during such a weird period where people are experiencing things like loss or financial hardship, or people are dealing with mental health issues, which she could be, because I wouldn't have said that.
Is that what you think? I've wondered the same with Mayor Walker. I wonder where the mental health is right now.
Honestly, also too, that's another way that I looked at it. Based off of the first two.
Because there was a string of posts yesterday,
yeah,
and it was fresh on the heels of pretty much being grilled in that planning session meeting about the credit cards. Literally, like the day of, less than 24 hours after all these posts came out. So you had these 4 counselors grilling her in this planning session about credit card usage and getting these policies in place, and then next thing you know, these posts are coming out that some of them were, your words were discombobulated.
Right. So not necessarily an attack, because one thing I definitely hate to do, which I didn't really know that I was going to be addressing it, but addressing it to the best of my ability without tearing someone down, and I definitely hate to do that to
But you've handled it well.
Yeah.
You have not done that.
I hate to do that to black leaders in general, but when you see something and it's not right, you can't just act like it didn't happen, and especially something that's trending like that shouldn't be. But I definitely think that, that based off of the first 2 sentences, is probably feeling as though she doesn't have a support system within, and I think that it's just kind of like being over everything altogether, from the course of like COVID and everything, and how it's impacting people. It was kind of just like a rant. That probably should have been done behind closed doors, as opposed to something that being publicized and put on Facebook for everyone to see.
I'll throw this to you. Has the community fully healed since August 12th?
Well, August 12th made me start my own company, kind of that, and like talking to people and seeing how disconnected the community was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so.
What's the company? I had no idea.
Yeah, I started Rocket Science Integrated.
Okay.
Which is basically integrated marketing, focusing heavily on public relations.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is perfect what you need for a campaign.
Yeah, so exactly right. So being able to, heighten awareness of pressing issues. Right now, I'm focusing on things like, food equity.
Okay.
Which everything kind of usually is aligned, but focusing on things like that. Also, too, being able to always another thing, mental health. And emotional intelligence, and helping people, showing people different regimes that they can add into their lifestyle to alter the way that they respond to different things. So aside from that, art is the core of my company, and being able to do these things in a very entertaining, while interesting way, being able to talk about things that people typically don't really care about, but making it like really interesting. Also to continuing to bring people together from different walks of life, and basically August 12th made me want to do that, just because I was like, okay, well, I already like advocating, and I want to be as positive as possible. So being able to, have an event, or being able to start a program, or being able to network and work with other people who are equally interested in doing the same thing makes it so that I now have a platform where I have the ability to be able to be not only purposeful, but be able to be impactful. And I'm doing it through art, which is really great as well.
Wow. Yeah, so you're killing this interview here. More comments are coming in. This is from Laura Sherling. Jerry, I watch your show all the time. I had not known of this candidate. I'm impressed with her answers to your questions that are certainly difficult, and answers that I could not deliver, especially not on a camera or in front of a microphone. If I can ask a question to the candidate, if she is elected, she will likely be the youngest person inside City Hall, and will have staff inside City Hall that look to her that are potentially twice her age. Will this impact her in any way? If so, how? Good question.
So far as my age?
Yeah, she's basically saying, I guess if I'm summarizing here, it's like, if you're elected to council here, you could have potentially people in City Hall that are, twice as old as you.
Yeah.
I remember my first job out of UVA was at the newspaper, and I was working as an editor, and I had some stringers, which are newspaper writers, under us, and some of the stringers guys, like the old school guys, were in their like 50s, and I was like, 23, and I had a hard time figuring out a way to like connect and lead this like older stringer base, and that was just unique to me. Eventually I was able to figure it out, but I feel like the question is fair. That is like, how would you lead or set an example or be one of five that helps turn morale around when potentially they are twice your age?
So I think being able to re-energize people about politics, definitely being able to provide my insight from a very positive and optimistic light. Also to being able to introduce new policies, ordinances, projects and programs that are going to help, reshape Charlottesville into what it should be. I definitely think that all of that's really important. I think sometimes, you do need someone who's younger and, very knowledgeable to be like, hey, here's the facts. Here's what I would like to introduce, and not from like, airhead point of view, but being able to know that you've done your research, you've done the work, and you have the experience, whether that's from me, working, briefly in affordable housing for like 2 years, and with Albemarle Housing Improvement Program, and then also to working with at-risk groups, at STARS and at the City of Charlottesville, and then also to, working on political campaigns. So I definitely have, where Jim's campaign was pretty much,
Jim Hingley, Commonwealth's attorney at Albemarle. She helped with his campaign. Jim Hingley listens to the show all the time. Jim, if you're listening to this either live or in podcast form, we have tremendous respect for you, sir, on this network.
Yeah, so definitely, help. I already had my feelings of how I felt about, criminal justice, but definitely, being able to listen and, understand it a lot more, the policies and everything, different reforms that are going to be taking place. Criminal justice reform is always a big one. Being able to provide people with fair and just treatment. That's always something that people are edging towards. It's always something that needs to be revised to make sure that it's being done properly, and that it's being done ethically. So being able to be on his campaign was really important to me, and being able to help out with that, and that big push. Aside from that, being able to work on Cameron's campaign was really important as well. Being able to address the importance of healthcare. And making sure that everyone has equal access to healthcare is really important too. And then being able to talk to other people who are politically involved and listening to their inputs and how they feel about different situations. It's really great to be in a room of people who are like-minded, but yet everyone kind of has different input, but everyone has a similar goal in what they're trying to achieve. So that's been really great, being able to do that and being able to just be purposeful and give back to the best of my ability here in Charlottesville.
Zach Simpson is watching the show. He says, Yaz had my vote at not here for antics or likes. I'm loving everything I'm hearing from her so far. That's from Zach Simpson. Thank you for watching the show, Zach. Dana Wright is watching the program. She has a couple of comments, which I mentioned I would relay on air. Dana Wright says, I wanted a position as a cashier customer service at City Hall and could not get it, and I am very well qualified. And when I asked why I could not get the job, I was never given an answer. And then she says, every minority should be watching this interview and encouraging Yaz because we all are on the hook. Blessings to you, Yaz Washington. That's from Dana Wright. Multiple comments have come in about whether or not any kind of impeachment process should happen or any kind of removal from council for the mayor with the words she said yesterday.
Whoa.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I was actually wondering if that was going to be taking place or if it was going to be addressed on a, on a higher level or something like that, or, done in a closed meeting. I'm not really sure. I don't have insight to all of that, but I was actually wondering if they were going to be taking any measures to, address that.
There's a handful of measures that can be done. They can remove the title of mayor. The word, Judah, I struggled with this morning. Was it censor?
Censure.
Censure?
Yeah.
Which basically means no longer allowed to speak outside of the meetings, right? In this particular circumstance.
In this particular circumstance.
It wouldn't be allowed, if they do that, she wouldn't allow it to use social media. And then potentially removal from council in totality is an option.
Yeah.
They would need majority vote of council there. I would think, I don't want to, you know what, I'll just leave it at that. What do you think of that question?
Yeah, so which I guess would be something similar to what on a national
Federal.
scale,
Yeah.
but what
Trump.
took place with Trump.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get out. Sorry, it took me a while, but with Trump and everything, when he couldn't gain access to his account on Twitter and everything.
Right.
So definitely.
Does that need to be done?
I definitely think so, because it's one of those things where it's not just that one. It's continuing to be like, it's no longer that you have freedom of speech when you're a political figure. You can talk about things, but I feel as though the way that it's being done, you can't do that.
Well said, yes. We're an hour and 15 minutes in, and you have hit a grand slam. Anything you want to say? Open-ended, the show's yours. You got quite a few folks watching you here.
Whoa. So other than that, aside from everything, we'll be picking the order of the candidates and everything tomorrow, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
So
what happens?
So basically, they're basically just going to be picking straws or something to that effect.
The Democratic Party?
Yeah,
Okay.
to choose the order of everyone's name on the ballot.
Okay.
I'm hoping that people are so informed and so enthralled in this overall election that it won't really, be a thing of I'm just going to go check the first box because I have the right to vote and I'm just going to go on ahead and go in and vote. So
It's called shotgun voting, where you go into a voter booth and you vote one person despite having the option to vote multiple people. In a shotgun voting situation, you're leveraging your vote to push one candidate and no one else. You're right.
Yeah. Exactly. So then that's kind of where everybody's no, I want to be,
So you're saying being on top is important?
To me, I think as long as you properly engaged with, everyone who's eligible to vote, I don't see the issue with where your name's at on
Well
the
said.
ballot.
Well
But
said.
I'm competitive, and I would be okay with my name being on top.
Yes, Washington. I like that answer right there. Oh man, you are truly, in the words of Stephanie, a breath of fresh air today. Did we get a good photo of her, J-Dubs?
I hope so.
We did? Okay. Do we want to get any more over here of her smiling over here? Because I think she did an absolute heck of a job.
Sure.
I think your brother and your dad and your
Yeah.
parents would be so proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, so proud. I mean, you are just an absolute breath of fresh air. The 6th of April, we will welcome Yaz back, along with Carl Brown, Brian Pinkston, and Juan Diego Wade for a live debate here in our studio, hosted by former City Councilor Kathy Galvin. Anytime you want to come back. Anytime. The carpet is red, we will roll it out anytime. We will switch people on the calendar. I wish you the best of luck in your candidacy, your campaign. Good luck with the interview with NBC 29. And thank you kindly for joining us on the show. Thank you, Yaz.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. J-Dubs, if we can make sure the door is unlocked for the candidate, that would be great. Thank you, sir. A couple of things that we need to get out of the notebook very quickly. We have some new restaurant news to get to that I think would make everyone extremely happy. El Carbone, which is one of the most favorite restaurants in Charlottesville, El Carbone is opening a second location. This location is going to be in 5th Street Station. Judah, if you can get their Facebook post from this morning on screen. Guys who are watching the video format, look at the screen. El Carbone and that family says, we are very excited to announce that we are in the process of opening a second location. It's going to be in 5th Street Station, right close to Wegmans. There's a number of openings over there in the section that's called The Yard. The Yard. I think having a locally owned restaurant that's an established brand like El Carbone in 5th Street Station is going to put some tailwinds and some positive momentum behind that shopping center that has struggled of late, like a lot of shopping centers have. One other item out of the notebook that I think is important to you, the Clifton Inn in Keswick and eastern Albemarle County has massive plans to expand its facility. They have plans to add approximately 83 acres to the Clifton, which would, on those 83 acres, 41 guest rooms would be built on those 83 acres. They currently have 21 guest rooms. So they're trying to go from 21 to 60, or from 20 to 61. Okay, so that's a massive increase here, adding an additional 40 hotel rooms to the Clifton. They also plan to add cabins around the Clifton, a 5,000 square foot structure for a spa and event area. This event area would host 75 people, a 10,500 square foot structure that can be a convention center, a bathhouse. The structure can hold potentially up to 300. I mean, the Clifton is literally building a live events facility that is going to include cabins, 40 extra hotel rooms, an event or civic center for big businesses to meet, a live music venue for 75, a 5,000 square foot spa, a bathhouse, big time things happening at the Clifton. I just caught word of this yesterday. It was going to be in yesterday's rundown, but the poem from yesterday superseded that. So the Clifton making moves in eastern Albemarle County, and El Carbone is opening up a second location in 5th Street Station. Those are news items that you will eventually read in the newspaper or see on television. We get a lot of that stuff first because of our reach and influence. And lastly, on tomorrow's program, Michael Payne, Charlottesville City Councilor, has agreed to come on the show. Michael Payne tomorrow at 12:30. On Monday at 12:30, Troy Razor Robinson. Troy Robinson will join us on set to talk current events and the Charlottesville news cycle. Folks, this is the I Love Seaville show, where we use long-form content to bring news, to bring introductions to people, and to bring information that we think is important to you. Thank you kindly for joining us on an absolutely glorious day to be alive. My name is Jerry Miller. Take care.